It's your bow. You control it. Don't let it control you. So I'm going to demonstrate that now. Hi everyone, this is Jim Walker with Jim Walker Archery. Okay, so that first bit of my video was a little snippet from an earlier video I did on controlling your shot. Okay, so today we're going to talk about controlling your bow. And the three things I'm going to cover are three practice techniques I use that just are awesome. One is the blank or blind bale practice, and the second one will be the 3-second hold practice, and the third will be the off shot hold practice. Now, I've covered each of these in some prior videos, but I'm going to give you some demonstrations here. So what I'm doing here is actually a blind bale practice. Now, I'm literally closing my eyes. So the initial draw, now I'm doing a rotational draw in this video, by the way, so you'll see that I'm kind of pointing the point to the left, and then I'm rotating it until the point of my arrow is directly on the target. Now, what's cool about this is that as I bring the arrow up, my eyes are open, but at this point, when I start my actual draw of the string back, my eyes are closed, and I let go. Now, I'm concentrating on how the bow feels in my hands, thinking about the steps I'm going to take through my shot sequence. And so you can see here that I'm drawing it back. I'm getting a good hold. Now in that particular case it just didn't feel right, so I dropped my bow and I'm going to try it again. The whole goal here in the blank or blind bale practice is to allow yourself to feel the sequence. I don't care about where I hit on the bale, and I'm actually hitting all over the place in the middle. I'm not that far away, so I'm not afraid of breaking an arrow or anything like that. The whole goal here is just close the eyes, let go, and feel it. This is really important, especially if you're dealing with target panic. And target panic sometimes occurs when you're anticipating the shot and you flinch. So this is a great way to help get past some of the target panic problems. I don't have target panic per se, so this is for me is improving my release, which is just terrible at times. And I'm always trying to work on my release, and you'll see it later on, it actually gets better. Now in a few moments, I'm going to move on to the next practice, which is the 3-second hold practice. I'm a big believer in that 3-second hold. The quick shot techniques, you see people just pulling their string back and letting go immediately. That's just going to result in all kinds of problems because you are not controlling your bow when you do that. If you're overbowed, that can be a problem, and you are going to be forced to let go. So in this technique, I'm going up to the target, I'm doing my usual draw, and then I'm going to hold it for 2 to 3 seconds. And in some of these sequences, I'm actually talking out loud to myself. So I bring it back, and I actually go to full draw, and then I count to myself 1001, 1002, 1003. Usually letting go in that 2 or 3 period. It doesn't have to be exactly at 3 or exactly at 2, whatever feels good. What's most important in this, when you're holding for the 2 to 3 seconds, and the purpose and reason why you're doing this, is the extension. If you're not doing a full back extension, where you're bringing your arm all the way back until your rhomboid is in its just locked, you're going to know. Within a couple moments, you're going to know whether or not you are doing a full draw proper. If you're doing a partial draw, well, what's going to happen is you're going to collapse. You're going to lose your shot periodically, and you're going to wonder why. If you're collapsing, that is, you're pulling the string all the way back, and then periodically it just like lets go on its own or is really erratic flight because you don't feel like you controlled your bow, well, this is what's going to help. It's going to help you to bring it to full draw and hold it for 2 to 3 seconds. You can go even longer. If you have a lighter weight bow, you might actually go for a longer actual hold. And the reason for that is you want to get into this stability. You want to get into the point where you're drawing the bow back, holding it in position, and going and falling into a muscle a non-muscle twitch. The problem you have is when you're doing the fast draw is your muscle's just twitching. It just wants to let go, and it's going to let it go at an inopportune time, and you're going to find yourself with a crazy shot. So the whole purpose of this hold for 2 to 3 seconds is to give you that opportunity to pull it back and not relax, but allow your muscles to settle. When your muscle settles and you have a full extension on your back, then when you release, your hand is not going to do these crazy jerky out to the right, out, top, down, whatever craziness. And I think you'll see here I'm actually doing that. In the first set of video you saw, my hand was flying out to the right. You'll notice in the 2 to 3 second, it actually goes back, and I release, my hand barely moves. It's like, boom. Full extension. So when you have a full extension, your hand doesn't need to fly back, and so you get a smoother release. Okay, so moving on to the last, this is the off-shot hold practice, and this is unique. I don't really see anyone else talking about this, but I'm a big believer in this. When you find yourself going into a unable to control your bow situation, in other words, you draw your bow back and it just wants to fire. I mean, it literally wants to fire. You can't even control it. You draw it back and it just fires on its own. Again, you can do the 2-3 second hold, or you can do an off-shot practice. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm shooting off maybe 10, 20 yards to the left, and then I'm bringing the bow slowly in, finding my target and letting go. So this is a unique practice technique that I've used, especially when I find myself doing quick draw. And I'm just going out there and I'm pointing the bow down range, and the moment that I put my fingers up to my cheekbone, it wants to let go. So this is going to force you to actually go to a full back extension where you're drawing your elbow all the way back. Remember, your arm is not doing the work, your elbow is doing the work. Your shoulder is not doing the work, your elbow is doing the work. Your wrist is not doing the work, your elbow is doing the work. Everything you do is in your back. It's not in your arm or anything. So literally think of it like a fulcrum. Just pull it directly back, your elbow directly back. And when you do that and you do this off-shot technique, the one thing you'll find is that you'll feel pretty stupid if you let go of that arrow before it gets to the front of the target. So it's a way in which you sort of force your body to not go into a quick release syndrome, which I sometimes fall into. This is actually pretty good, because what I found out to the end of this is that all of my arrows were were really nice. It was like all up in a straight line, so I was actually getting a really good release, surprisingly better than the 2 to 3 second draw I was doing before, because I was bringing it in, forcing myself to come into a position and hold for a moment and then let go. So a wonderful way to practice controlling your bow. Well, I hope you enjoyed this bit of demonstration of 3 training techniques that I use for controlling my bow, which is a 42-ish pound recurve Hoyt Satori with hex 6.6 limbs. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and certainly subscribe, because I do some videos periodically, and I do believe that the information I'm providing is helpful. If you don't believe it is, then please leave a comment. Hey, I'm open to criticism. But that said, if you have any other better techniques that you find very helpful, please leave them in the comments and let's chat about it. All right, you all have a wonderful day, and have fun at the range.